Hi, everyone. I'm Deborah Martin. I'm here to share some of my healing stories with you, healing and reading stories. Um, if you haven't tuned into any of my other recordings, what I told in them is I developed my healing through a near-death experience where I crossed over and had a conversation with God that told me that I needed to come back and do this healing work. So I developed a healing technique that is through God, who is the divine, the universe, the source, whatever you want to call, but it's all one and the same as it's love. And so when I do these healing sessions, I am God's instrument and vessel. I never know what the person is dealing with, as I don't want to know what is their cause or their issues or their struggles. I go into it open-minded so that it becomes limitless. I can go to past things that they're dealing with, to things they're dealing with now, to maybe trauma that they had when they were a child. So all I ask for them is to send me their picture so that I can become their proxy. They rest in their space, in their sacred space, whether they're sleeping, whether they're resting, meditating, walking outside, whatever brings them peace. What's beautiful is many times they're feeling exactly what I'm feeling at the same time, and we're across the world. I find that just miraculous. So today I'm going to share with you 4 more stories. And one I wanted to say is children. When I do a session for children, parents will often wonder, is it okay to do it for them? Are they open to it? Well, our intention is to send love and healing to this child. And what's so beautiful about children is they're so open to it. And what I find is the children are even more open to it than the adults. And they'll see light and they'll start looking up, and the parents will say, oh my gosh, when the session was taking place, they kept staring at this light and saying, light, 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 mommy. Or they see it in their, I connect to the solar plexus where the light goes into the solar plexus. And that's where I begin with the frequency and energy. And they'll start looking at their belly button. Look, look, look. And so I love when I get to work with children. So know that children can also be healed. And I've worked with children in emergency cases to simple things as scared of the dark, frightened, is our spirits real? There is nothing that's too small or too big that God can't heal. So I am just the instrument and vessel. I am not the one that considers myself, I consider myself the healer, but I'm the one that is receiving it for you through God, if that makes sense. I'm so not used to these speaking on these Zooms, so I'm trying to do my best here. So this session here is about a healing reading. What is a healing reading? A healing is, I'm going to touch on your emotional, physical, and spiritual, in all areas of your body, from your past to what your current, to maybe a root issue that happened when you were a child. When I combine the reading, it's asking that you want a loved one to come through, someone that may have passed, a mother, a brother, a child. And so I use my mediumship and my healings all the time, where I can see, hear, feel, taste, touch. But when I bring in a loved one, now I'm just going to heighten the session to also have a connection where they can have a connection together. And it's just beautiful, whatever transpires each and every one of them. I'm always in awe and on my knees afterwards with gratitude. But what I want to say about the healing sessions too is, when I walk into the session, I open myself up to whatever's going to transpire, as I have no idea what I'm going to see, what I'm going to feel, what I'm going to hear. But I can say to you that every single person receives something in their sessions. And I can't guarantee that you'll receive a miracle. but you may receive something more than what you expected that you would receive. It could be words from God that you needed to hear. It could be peace. It could be a gift of time. It could be peace in passing. It's limitless. And in my book Proof of Miracles, it shares all different types of miracles. And it shares my stories of how I became a healer and a medium that I am today. So in this one, it's a healing reading, combining and bringing forth her brother. So she says, thank you again for reaching my brother. It was a beautiful reading. I wanted to let you know about my healing reading experience. I listened to the healing reading and I meditated along with you. That you mentioned a pain in your right lung. Now I will feel those issues. I'll feel like, oh my gosh, I can feel pain in my right lung. It hurts, I can't breathe. And she says, when I was feeling that, she goes, I have respiratory disease and a nodule in my right lung, which is causing pain that you experienced. I experienced a great deal of short breath due to having chronic acute respiratory condition, which I nearly died from several times. And that's exactly what I expressed and felt in the session. You also mentioned pained by your kidneys, and I also have adrenal disease. You mentioned something with the brain, and I have autonomic dysfunction. I resonated so much with your session, and of course was extremely emotional as you connected with my brother. I had to laugh at the end of the session because my brother told you I shouldn't have popcorn that evening. Well, I had already told my kids we'd be watching a movie and making homemade popcorn. Can you believe it? I haven't had it in months. So it would be so unusual for him to say that. But it was on that very day that we had planned to make popcorn. So she knew that he had been around the day before, listening to what their plan was going to be for that evening, being there for the session, and then saying, hey, laughing and joking, say, don't have popcorn. But she did have the popcorn to enjoy with her children and to invite him in as well. But he just wanted to make something funny, something lighthearted, so that she would laugh, but she would know that was definitely him. So one of her questions was, does healing take time, or should I think that this the dog is barking at someone? No, there's no one in my house. So probably seeing spirit as well. That's funny. She actually scared me. So does healing take time? Can it be a process? And yes, some healings will happen instantaneously and some things will take time. So I always say, just stand in your faith, continue to say, I am healed, I am whole, I am healthy, and it will transpire. Our words are powerful. If we dismiss, oh, it didn't happen immediately, so it probably is never going to work, then we dismiss everything that was given to us. So we need to stand in it, we need to own it, we need to receive it, and just allow it to heal little by little. It's like, imagine having, I'm kind of itchy there, sorry. Imagine having like nerve damage, and then you want that to be healed right away. Now, nerves take a long time to regenerate, and they take time to heal. So if we were working on something with the nerves, it's still going to take some time. It's not going to just heal miraculously. I've witnessed that with others that I've healed, that some things like this that do take time in the human form also take time in the with the spiritual form, with the spiritual surgeons. And when I say spiritual surgeons come into the room, I do see them as regular surgeons. Somebody asked me, I think a producer asked me once, they said, so do you get scared like when the first time you saw, you know, a spiritual surgeon come into the room, like what are they going to do to you? What did you feel? And I said, well, they come wearing like surgical outfits, so I know they're doctors. Now if I saw someone just coming with a knife at me, I might have been scared, going, oh, what are they going to do with that knife? But yeah, there's nothing that I fear. It's all out of love, but it can be painful. And it, in order for me to feel it, God shows me so I don't deny it. It's like a gift. It's a gift that I have to be able to feel and see and witness and voice. But if I didn't trust it, I wouldn't be able to voice it, and I wouldn't be able to send a recording across the world for it. So I share another story of a man that had brain cancer, and he was told by God to wait 6 months and that his brain cancer would be cleared. Well, interesting is he didn't have any treatments, and God said it was going to be a difficult six months. And 6 months to the day, he went and had an open MRI and a closed MRI, and his brain cancer, his tumor, was completely gone. And he said it was rough. It was a rough time, but he stood in his faith, and he believed. That's another question. People say, "Do you need to believe to have a healing?" No, you don't. You don't need to believe at all. I've had other people come in and they didn't believe in anything at all, and then all of a sudden they were healed instantly, and they're like, "Why me? I didn't even believe." But why not you? My throat's a little dry. Sorry about that. Everyone's deserving, and we all have the capability of tapping into the healing frequency. And sometimes we just need somebody else to help us get to that point of healing. But you can try healing yourself. Go to that space, pray, see the light going to it, and send love to it, and see if you see any changes. So here's another one. This one was sent by a woman who said in 2007, at the age of 26, she was diagnosed with a cancerous brain tumor. It was believed to had been growing slowly for the past 20 years. She underwent surgery. She had 3 surgeries from 2007 to 2017. They were still seeing cancer cells. She was at stage 3, but they were not spreading to anything else. But due to this cancer, it was giving her consistent headaches. The pain was so terrible that they were prescribing her morphine and oxycodone and all these other drugs, and nothing was alleviating the pain. And it was also giving her side effects of feeling itchy, her skin itchy, and loopiness. Well, so for 13 years, she suffered from chronic headaches. And she said, for 13 years, I suffered for chronic headaches, but in 1 hour, you've made a greater difference than countless doctors and pain meds have. This is just amazing, and I can't thank you enough for this feeling. Can you imagine what she went through for all those years? And then the energy, the light, the love that went to this area to relieve that pressure, to relieve that pain, to give her comfort and peace so that she could continue living. So months later, I received another email from her. And she was like, "Do you remember me?" And I'm like, "I always remember everybody." It's like it leaves a thumbprint of my heart. Like, how can I forget what transpired when each one was so profound? And she says, my biggest, most annoying problem was the constant headaches caused by the brain cancer and the many surgeries I had. My headaches have decreased so dramatically since you performed your services. It made such a difference. I find myself thanking you in the shower when washing my hair, bending over to unload and load the dishwasher, or do the laundry. Usually, the more activity, the more intense my headaches would become. And I notice that I don't get the headaches I used to anymore. Thank you. Thank you again. My outlook on life remains the same. I can never be more thankful, but my journey seems to be more bearable. It's just amazing that God knows exactly what she needs and what she needed, because she was spiraling down. She was getting depressed. She was like, what quality of life do I have to live here? Do I even want to stay? And relieving this one pressure. I mean, she has all other things in her life that I'm sure she's dealing with, but this one main one, it gave her her life back. For that, I'm truly, truly grateful and blessed for the work that I do and for the work that God uses me to do through me. So my last one that I'm going to share with you today is, this one is about a woman and what she felt on her end during the session. So first she says she is deeply touched and honored and thankful for the spiritual surgeons for all the work they did, and deeply, deeply touched by God orchestrating it all. So she was in a quiet place for her healing, and she rested for about 45 minutes. Now, my sessions usually last about an hour long. So I always tell people just to kind of relax, and if you fall asleep, that's okay. Whatever happens, many times people say, oh my gosh, I was sitting down or laying down, I couldn't move. I couldn't move my body. Other people say, oh my gosh, I couldn't open my eyes. I tried so hard. Well, what happens in a session with spiritual surgery, spiritual surgeons coming for surgery, is they administer sedation medicine. I'll taste it, I'll feel it, and they'll feel it where it's like, oh my gosh, I couldn't move, I couldn't open my eyes, because they receive that medicine and they're sedated. So it's interesting what they might feel. But she said she didn't feel the pain that I was feeling, but she did feel the emotions, and she cried many times. Her body was heavy during the session, and it was afterwards too. That's what I'm talking about, that heaviness where I can't move, I'm kind of stuck. I felt very tired for the rest of the day, and all I could do was rest and lay in bed. And that's what's interesting too. Some people won't feel anything at all, and they'll just go on with their day, and others will feel like, oh my gosh, I was so drained, I had to sleep the rest of the day. And that's okay, because your healing is a process, and it just needed to continue to heal. So she did her process on her end. Instead of saying and resisting, oh, I'm going to get up, I'm going to get my things done, she knew that she needed to lay in bed, and she honored that. That's what's beautiful. So after listening to the session, her head felt heavy, and there was a feeling of pressure in her vagina area. She also felt a little bit wobbly to walk. I do understand why they did so much work on my body. You began referring to my left jaw and chin. While my chin has been off and pinging pain over the last several years, and recently my left jaw had become sore when I chew, especially on that side. I could feel that area under my left ear was tender, but now I can chew on that side just fine with just a little bit of soreness, but I know that it was healed. Wow. I mentioned an animal coming in, and right away she knew that it was her cat that passed on the other side. That made her have so much gratitude and love in her heart for knowing that the cat showed up. I worked on her throat area, and what's interesting, when I sometimes I get the throat area, I know that maybe they didn't speak about something that was very painful, that they held it inside. So she says, I know you worked on the throat area and then in the notch of the collarbone that you referred to. My thyroid developed hyperthyroidism years ago, which is inflamed, but my esophageal muscle also became loose and causes reflux issue. Just like you mentioned in the session, because I was gagging, she also has this gagging reflex. A lot of my life, I have not spoken words or felt safe in doing so. And that's why I was stating and sharing with you that I was feeling that throat, that issue in the throat. And she says, you stated that all my body issues stemmed from this throat issue. I believe this with all certainty, she said. So the surgeons were working in this era for the physical manifestation present there, and you were releasing words that were unspoken. So words came through that only she would have known that she needed to release. And so I find that just there's no words to explain it. Like when I can hear what she went through in her past and voice that for her. So she doesn't have to bring it through. So she doesn't have to hear it. So she doesn't have to voice it, but I'm doing it for her. She can weep. She knows, oh my gosh, only God would have known this. I haven't spoken about it, but it heals it, which then heals all areas because that's the root issue. Went right to the root and pulled it right out. Then she continues, as for the work done in my rib cage in that area, my rib cage on the left side is flared. Though you stated in time, it will all balance out. I will be in complete alignment. So all the work they did on aligning makes total sense, including my hips, because they are part of the misalignment too. My sternum also has a bone. I went right to the sternum area, and she says it has a bone spur at the tip of it. So when you mentioned them working on my sternum, I knew right away. Also in the chest rib cage area, there is so much nerve pain that resides. I understand why they worked on my spinal area since pain resides there too due to nerve damage. So all the work in the center part of my body needed to be done, and she puts an exclamation point. Thank you, God, for confirming it through Debra. My spiritual journey was so profound and loving. Now, she wasn't going to go speak with a loved one. She wasn't having a reading, but God felt that he needed to take her on a spiritual journey. And what that means is he created a vision for me to see in my mind to take her there. And so I am watching, observing, and giving her the connection that God wants her to have, what to see, what to feel, what he is saying. So she says it was profound and loving. I'm taking God's words to heart and remembering that I am to enjoy this journey and smile, that the light is showing me the way. I'm so grateful for the attunement given. I have been asking this for a lifetime, and to know and to hear clearly my still, my small voice. The words and feeling that came to me as I was laying in bed, talking with God, reflecting on my session were gratitude, purification, and innocence. I am awe in the generosity of you, the spiritual surgeons, and God. You're amazing. I thank you, and I'm so deeply grateful to God for orchestrating it all. And that's what it is. God orchestrates it all. I keep getting tickling here. It's like spirit tickling my face, and I'm trying not to tickle it, but I'm like, I hear you, I feel you. So that's what happens is spirit can be with us at all times, and you might feel that little tickle in the face or chills down your arms, or that you have to scratch your head, and they're touching you, letting you know that they're there, they're with you, they're always with you, loving, protecting, and watching over you. But what's so beautiful about this is God took her on a spiritual journey to have words, to share words that only she would know, but what she had not voiced, what she held on to, that was so painful, and she was able to release and heal it. And it's just beautiful. So not only did they go to that main cause of something that she was holding on to, they also healed all those other areas that it caused pain to. So I don't want to make this too long, but I thank you all for joining this time with me to share these beautiful, miraculous stories that God does continue to perform miracles. They do still exist, and nothing is too big and nothing's too small, and it's limitless. The possibilities are limitless. So if you would like to join a meditation that I have, I do monthly meditations or a group distant worldwide session or a private session, or just want to know a little bit more about me, you can visit my website at www.goldenmiracles.com. On the website also is a podcast that you can click onto and listen to for free. It's called Spirit Chat. Spirit Chat's a lot of fun. Valerie co-hosts it with me, and they're uplifting conversations, but we never know when Spirit's going to drop in, and they always drop in with, we call it a tweetable moment, or just something that they might even give us a topic that makes the conversation a little harder to speak about, but to address different issues that they feel that you need to hear and listen to. So I'd be honored and welcome you to join into our Spirit Chat podcast. But with that, I wish you all a blessed day, and until we meet again, thank you.